Undercover CEO catches waitress stealing bread. Her reason will break your heart. Adrian Wells sat quietly in the corner booth of the bustling restaurant, his plain shirt and jeans making him blend in with the crowd. No one suspected that he was the CEO of the very chain they worked for. He had come undercover after hearing troubling reports about this particular branch: missing inventory, unexplained shortages, and declining profits. He wanted answers, and he knew the only way to find the truth was to see it with his own eyes. The waitresses moved back and forth between tables, balancing trays and plastering on practiced smiles. Among them, Adrian's attention was drawn to a young woman whose name tag read Lena. Unlike the others, she looked worn down, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Her uniform was slightly faded, her shoes scuffed, and though she smiled at customers, her smile never quite reached her eyes. He noticed how careful she was, how every movement seemed deliberate, as though she couldn't afford even the smallest mistake. But what struck him most happened later that evening. When she slipped into the kitchen, Adrian saw her tuck a small loaf of bread into her apron pocket. She paused, looked around nervously, and hurried toward the staff exit. His heartbeat quickened. So the reports were true. Someone was taking food. At first, frustration rose inside him. Theft, no matter the form, was unacceptable in his eyes. But something about Lena's trembling hands and desperate glance stopped him from rushing to judgment. He decided to wait. When she returned to the floor, Adrian raised his hand. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Could I get some extra bread with my meal?" Her shoulders stiffened. For a moment, fear flickered across her face before she forced a smile. "Of course, sir. I'll bring it right away." She placed the basket in front of him a few minutes later. Adrian didn't touch it. He simply observed her. He noticed her pale hands, the dark circles under her eyes, and the way she kept glancing toward the kitchen door as though she carried a secret. By closing time, the restaurant had emptied. Adrian remained seated, watching as the staff cleaned up. That's when he saw it again. Lena slipping another loaf into her bag, her movements rushed but practiced. This time Adrian stood. He walked toward her quietly, his footsteps steady. She turned, saw him, and froze. The color drained from her face. The loaf slipped from her hands and fell onto the counter. I wasn't," she stammered, her voice breaking. Adrian raised a hand gently, stopping her excuses before they began. His voice was calm but carried weight. "Why are you doing this?" Her lips trembled, her eyes shining with tears she tried to hide. "Please," she whispered. "Don't tell the manager. I'll quit if I have to. Just don't let them fire me. My family, they need what little I earn here." Adrian didn't move. He waited, giving her space to continue. Lena bit her lip, then the truth spilled out in a rush. "My little brother hasn't eaten since yesterday. My mom works 2 jobs, but sometimes there just isn't enough. I can't stand watching him cry himself to sleep because he's hungry. So I take the bread. Just the bread. I swear I don't take anything else." Her voice cracked on the last word. She quickly wiped her face, ashamed of her tears. "I know it's wrong. I know I shouldn't. But what choice do I have?" Adrian felt something stir inside him. He had spent years looking at numbers, profit margins, and reports filled with percentages. Yet none of those numbers ever captured this: an employee stealing not out of greed, but out of desperation to feed her family. In that moment, Adrian realized this wasn't about bread. This was about survival, about dignity, about a system that could overlook the pain of its own workers. He stood there silently, the weight of her confession pressing against him. For the first time in years, the CEO didn't know what to say. And he knew. No, this was only the beginning. The restaurant had grown silent. The clatter of dishes, the chatter of customers, all of it was gone. Only the dim hum of the fluorescent lights filled the air as Lena stood frozen, ashamed, clutching the truth she had just spilled. Adrian didn't respond right away. He studied her trembling hands, the tears she tried to hide, and the desperation that clung to her voice. He had come undercover to catch wrongdoers, but what he found instead was a young woman fighting to survive. Finally, he spoke. "Lena," he said quietly, "how long have you been taking food?" She swallowed hard, her gaze fixed on the floor. "A few weeks," she whispered. "Only when things get bad at home. I don't want to steal, sir. I hate it. But I don't know what else to do. My brother's only 6. He doesn't understand why the fridge is empty. And my mom, she breaks herself working. but her pay barely covers rent. Her voice cracked, and she covered her face. Adrian's chest tightened. This was more than an employee issue. This was a glimpse into the lives of the very people his company depended on, lives he had rarely seen up close. He took a slow breath. "Come sit," he said, guiding her to one of the empty booths. She hesitated but obeyed, sitting across from him, still wiping her eyes. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he asked, "Do you like working here?" She blinked at him, confused by the question. "It's a job. It pays the bills, well, some of them. But it's hard. Long hours, rude customers, not enough tips. I keep pushing because I have to." Adrian nodded, absorbing every word. She didn't know she was speaking to the man who owned the very chair she sat in, the very food she served, the very wages she depended on. After a pause, he leaned forward. "What if I told you that things could change?" Her brows furrowed. "Change? How?" Adrian hesitated. He hadn't planned on revealing himself so soon. But something in Lena's honesty, in her raw desperation, broke down his walls. He reached into his wallet and placed a sleek black card on the table. The letters engraved in gold spelled out his name, Adrian Wells, Chief Executive Officer. Lena's eyes widened. Her hand flew to her mouth. You're the CEO?" Adrian nodded. "I didn't come here tonight as a customer. I came undercover because I needed to understand what was happening in this branch. And now, because of you, I understand more than I expected." She shook her head, panic flashing in her eyes. "Please, I wasn't trying to cheat the company. I swear I wasn't. Please don't fire me. I can't lose this job." Adrian raised his hand gently. "I'm not going to fire you, Lena." His tone softened. "In fact, I'm grateful you told me the truth. You've shown me something I needed to see. The problem isn't just theft, it's the lives of my employees. It's people like you who work hard but still can't make ends meet. That is not acceptable." Lena stared at him, stunned. You mean that?" Adrian nodded firmly. "Yes. Starting tomorrow, I'll personally make sure your family has food on the table. But more than that, I'm going to review wages and support programs across this entire company. No one working for us should have to steal bread to keep a child from starving." For a moment, Lena couldn't speak. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not of shame this time, but of relief. She pressed her hands to her face, sobbing softly. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know what this means to us." Adrian felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For years, he had built his empire by focusing on numbers, profits, and strategies. But in that moment, he realized the true strength of his company wasn't in the balance sheets. It was in the people who carried trays, cleaned tables, and served meals with tired smiles. He stood and placed a reassuring hand on Lena's shoulder. "You're stronger than you realize. And your brother is lucky to have you. From now on, you don't have to fight this battle alone." Lena looked up at him, eyes still wet but filled with a spark of hope. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. As Adrian walked out of the restaurant that night, the city lights reflecting off his car, he knew his undercover mission had given him more than answers. It had given him perspective. And because of one waitress who stole bread, an entire company and countless lives were about to change.